I thought I had the perfect family, until my wife started spending more time at the gym than at home. When she left me for her personal trainer, I thought the heartbreak was the worst of it. But I had no idea what kind of man he really was, until I found the messages. My name's Jason Hartley, and I work as a logistics coordinator for a furniture company in Ohio. It's not the most glamorous job, but it pays the bills and gives me enough time to be present with my family. Or at least, that's how it used to be. For the longest time, I thought I had a good life. Nothing perfect, but stable. My wife, Melissa, and I had been together for over 14 years. We had a home, 2 dogs, and a smart, funny 15-year-old daughter named Katie. We had routines, dinners around the table, lazy Saturdays watching movies, and even the occasional weekend getaway when schedules allowed. Sure, things had quieted down between Melissa and me over the past year. The conversations were shorter and the affection less frequent. But I chalked it up to stress. Her job as a dental assistant had become more demanding, and Katie was navigating high school drama, so I figured we were all just tired. Looking back, I see it now, the signs. The way she started going to the gym every day after work, sometimes twice. How she'd come home smiling, full of energy, then go straight to the shower without a word. I'd ask how her day was, and she'd reply with one-word answers, eyes glued to her phone. Still, I told myself we were fine, that we were just in a rough patch like every long-term couple hits. I even encouraged her gym habit, thinking it was healthy, that maybe she'd feel better and that it would help us reconnect. I didn't know the gym wasn't what made her glow. It was someone at the gym. I remember the night she left. It hadn't happened yet, but I could feel something shifting. Katie had gone to bed, and Melissa was scrolling through her phone, smirking at something she didn't share with me. I smiled at her, trying to bridge the space between us, and she gave me a half-hearted one back. I didn't know it then, but my life was about to split in two. It started subtly, the way these things often do. Melissa's phone, once forgotten on kitchen counters or tucked into her purse, became an extension of her hand. She guarded it like a secret, turning it face down during meals, slipping it into her hoodie when she walked from room to room. At first, I didn't question it. I trusted her. We'd been through too much together for me to start doubting her over some buzzing notifications. Everyone gets messages, right? Group chats, Facebook, gym reminders, that's what I told myself. But then it started waking her up in the middle of the night. The screen would light up at 12:43 a.m., 1:15 a.m., 2:07 a.m. She'd turn over, check it silently, and sometimes type something before slipping it back under her pillow. I pretended to be asleep, but my heart raced every time. I didn't want to believe anything was wrong. I didn't want to be the paranoid husband. I finally asked her one morning, trying to keep my voice light. "You've been getting a lot of late-night messages lately. Everything okay?" She barely looked up from her coffee. "Yeah, just my fitness group chat. We're all trying to hold each other accountable, that's all." "Oh," I said, forcing a chuckle. "You guys sure are dedicated." She didn't laugh, just nodded, got up, and left the table. That's when the doubt began to sink in, quietly at first, like a crack in a windshield. I started noticing more. How she wore makeup even on gym days now. How she suddenly had new leggings, new sports bras, new routines. How she kept saying he when talking about her trainer but never used his name. "He's tough. He really pushes me. He says I've got great form." Still, I didn't press. I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. One evening, I got home early from work and went to surprise her at the gym. She wasn't there. The girl at the front desk said Melissa had left an hour ago after her one-on-one session. I drove home in silence, staring at the road but seeing nothing. Melissa was in the shower when I walked in. Her phone buzzed again on the kitchen counter. For the first time in our marriage, I stared at it like it was a stranger in my house. And for the first time, I felt scared of the truth. I don't know how long I stood there, staring at her phone. It buzzed again, just a notification, but loud in the silence. I didn't touch it. I couldn't. I still wanted to believe this was all in my head, that I was overthinking. Later that night, after Katie had gone upstairs, I sat down next to Melissa on the couch. She was scrolling again, eyes locked on the screen like it was more real than anything else in the room. "I dropped by the gym today," I said gently. She looked up, startled. "Why?" "Just thought I'd surprise you, but you'd already left." There was a pause long enough to notice. "Oh, yeah, I finished early." Her voice was flat, practiced. She didn't ask why I came. She didn't smile. I felt like I was interviewing a stranger. I hesitated, then asked, Is there something going on, Melissa, with you and your trainer? Her eyes narrowed like I'd just insulted her. Are you serious? I'm just asking, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. You're different lately, distant, the phone, the gym, the way you talk about him. She stood up suddenly. It's just the gym, Jason. God, I finally do something for myself and you make it into something dirty. I'm not trying to accuse you. Then don't, she snapped. You want me to stop going? Fine. You want me to stay home, cook dinner, sit on the couch while you watch reruns. Is that the life you're missing? Her words cut deeper than she knew, or maybe she did know. I just want you here, I said quietly. With us, with me. She didn't reply. She just left the room, her phone clutched tightly in her hand. That night, I lay awake listening to her breathe beside me, wondering when she had started seeing me as an obstacle instead of a partner. I kept replaying her words, how doing something for herself meant pulling away from everything we built together. The distance between us wasn't just emotional anymore. It was real, physical, growing. And I had no idea how to close it. The text came on a Thursday morning. I was sitting at my desk at work, halfway through my first cup of coffee when my phone buzzed. I expected a reminder or maybe a message from Katie. Instead, it was Melissa. I'm sorry, Jason. I can't keep pretending. I've moved out. I'll come by this weekend to get the rest of my stuff. Please don't make this harder than it has to be. I stared at the screen, not fully understanding what I was reading. I read it again and again. The words didn't sink in, they just echoed in my head like a siren. Moved out. I called her immediately, no answer. I called again, straight to voicemail. By the third time, it was obvious she didn't want to talk. She wanted distance, space, escape. I left work early. My hands shook the entire drive home. I couldn't focus on the road, couldn't think straight. My thoughts were everywhere, on Katie, on what I would tell her, on what I'd done wrong. When I walked through the front door, the silence hit me like a wall. Her coat was gone. So were her gym shoes. Half the closet was empty, toothbrush missing. Even the ceramic mug she always used for tea, gone. I stood in the bedroom, frozen. This was real. She hadn't just left me. She deplanned this. Packed, prepared. While I was trying to fix things, she was already halfway out the door. I heard the front door open, and for a split second, my heart jumped. Maybe it was her. Maybe she'd come back to talk. But it was Katie. She dropped her backpack in the hallway, glanced into the kitchen, then turned and saw me standing there. "Where's Mom?" she asked. I couldn't speak. My throat locked up. I didn't want to break her heart the way mine had just broken. She's not here," I said quietly. "She's not coming back today." Katie stared at me, confused. "What do you mean?" I swallowed hard. "We'll talk about it after dinner, okay?" She nodded slowly, but I could already see the questions building in her eyes. The fear, the confusion. That night after she went to bed, I sat alone on the couch, rereading that text over and over. I kept asking myself the same question. How could she leave me like that, without even saying goodbye? The hardest part wasn't that she left. It was that everyone else already knew. In the days after Melissa's text, I found myself moving through life like a ghost. I still got up early to make coffee, still packed Katie's lunch, still showed up to work even though my brain was somewhere else. But everything felt numb, like I was watching my own life from a distance. I didn't talk to anyone about it, not at first. I was too ashamed. I kept waiting to wake up and find it had all been some terrible dream. But the silence in the house made it real. The empty pillow next to mine. The drawer that used to be hers, now half open and bare. Then came the whispers. At first, I thought I was just imagining it. Coworkers exchanging glances when I walked by, neighbors offering those too sweet smiles that say, "I know something you don't want me to bring up." One afternoon, I went to pick Katie up from school. She came out with her friend Jenna, and as they got in the car, I heard Jenna mutter, "I can't believe your mom really left with him." Katie shot her a glare. "Shut up, Jenna." I didn't say anything, but my chest tightened. With him, 2 words, but they burned. Later that evening, I ran into Mark, a guy I used to see at the community center. We de-coached a youth basketball team together once years ago. He gave me a sympathetic nod. "Hey man, I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I didn't know it was that serious between her and the trainer. Thought it was just a fling." My mouth went dry. "You knew." Mark looked uncomfortable. "I mean, Everyone kinda did. She wasn't exactly subtle about it at the gym. I stood there feeling like the ground had opened beneath me. Everyone knew. The people who spotted me at the grocery store, the moms who waved at school pickup, the neighbors who used to stop by for cookouts. They all knew, but no one told me. That night I sat on the edge of my bed, hands in my lap, and I felt something I hadn't let myself feel since she left. Not heartbreak, not confusion. Humiliation. Everyone saw me as the guy who got left behind, the clueless husband, the punchline. And I didn't know how to face the world like that. Katie's birthday was coming up, and despite everything, I was determined to make it feel normal for her sake. She deserved something happy, something hers, not another reminder of what was missing. I asked her what she wanted, a party, a trip, anything. She just shrugged and said, "Can I just invite a few friends over for pizza and movies?" That was Katie, simple, grounded, mature beyond her years. I cleaned the house, bought decorations, even ordered a cake with her favorite ridiculous design, some internet frog meme I didn't understand. For a few hours, the house felt warm again. Laughter echoed through the living room as the girls played music and danced around like nothing was broken. Then the doorbell rang. I opened it and felt my stomach drop. Melissa stood there holding a gift bag, and next to her, arm casually draped over her shoulder, was him. Tyler, her trainer. He was younger than me, mid-30s maybe, fit, tanned, confident in that lazy, smug kind of way. The kind of guy who knew people watched him when he walked into a room. And worse, he looked at me like I was invisible. "Hey," Melissa said, avoiding eye contact. "Katie invited me, I thought." She hesitated. "I brought Tyler too, just to say hi." Just to say hi. I wanted to slam the door, but Katie had already spotted them from the hallway and ran over, beaming when she saw her mom. "You came." Melissa smiled and pulled her into a hug. "Of course I did, sweetie." I stepped aside, forcing myself to stay composed. This wasn't about me. It was about Katie. But the whole time they were there, I felt like I was watching someone else live my life. Tyler helped himself to soda, laughed with the girls, even offered to help clean up like he belonged here. I kept my distance, swallowing everything I wanted to say. Then I noticed something strange. Tyler was talking to one of Katie's friends, Lena, a quiet, shy girl who always looked nervous in big groups. At first, it seemed harmless. He was asking her about school, sports, the usual small talk, but something about his body language made me uncomfortable. The way he leaned in a little too close, the way she kept glancing around like she wanted to leave the conversation but didn't know how. A chill ran down my spine. I didn't want to assume anything, not after everything. But that feeling in my gut wouldn't go away. And I wasn't going to ignore it this time. The party ended like most do, wrapping paper everywhere, cake smeared into the carpet, kids laughing as they got picked up by sleepy parents. Katie hugged her mom goodbye. Tyler waved at me like we were old buddies. I didn't wave back. When they left, the house felt like it exhaled. Katie went upstairs to shower, humming some pop song under her breath, oblivious to the weight sitting in my chest. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the way Tyler had talked to Lena. The way she kept checking her phone afterward, barely saying goodbye when her mom picked her up. It was probably nothing, but I couldn't let it go. The next day, I was tidying up when I saw Katie's old iPad on the kitchen counter. She hardly used it anymore, but I picked it up to plug it in. As the screen lit up, a flood of notifications popped up, group messages, emojis, random memes from friends. But then one name caught my eye. Tyler. I froze. I shouldn't have opened it, I know that, but I tapped. What I saw made my hands go cold. "Hey, don't tell your dad I messaged you." Just checking in, smiling face with smiling eyes. "You looked really pretty yesterday, growing up so fast." "Don't worry, I won't tell anyone about what we talked about," winking face. There were only 3 messages, but they were enough. He hadn't messaged Katie, he'd messaged Lena, from Katie's party, on an account linked through her iPad. Somehow, through group chats or tagged photos, he must have found her. I stared at the screen, rage crawling under my skin. I didn't know whether to throw the iPad or drive straight to wherever he was and demand answers. But more than that, I felt sick. This wasn't about me or Melissa anymore. This wasn't about a marriage that fell apart. This was about someone dangerous, being close to my daughter and her friends. And I couldn't stay quiet. I took a screenshot of the messages, saved them to a folder, then sat in the dark kitchen, heart pounding. I didn't care about being the nice guy anymore. It was time to find out who this man really was. The next morning, I woke up with a mix of dread and determination swirling inside me. I knew what I had to do, even if it meant shattering the last fragile pieces of my family. I drove to the police station with the iPad and the screenshots saved on my phone. Sitting in the waiting room, my hands trembled as I rehearsed what I'd say. I kept thinking about Melissa, about Katie, about Lena, and the line between protection and destruction felt razor thin. When an officer finally called me in, I laid everything out. The messages, the strange behavior I'd noticed, the way Tyler had inserted himself into Katie's life under the guise of being just a trainer. The officer listened carefully, nodding, typing notes. Then she asked questions about Tyler, about Melissa, about Lena and the other kids. I told her everything I knew, not just as a betrayed husband, but as a dad who refused to let anyone harm his daughter or her friends. She took the evidence seriously and promised to investigate. "We'll handle this carefully," she said. "If there's any suspicion of inappropriate contact, we'll act quickly." Leaving the station, I felt a strange weight lift off my shoulders, but it was quickly replaced by anxiety. What if Tyler knew I was onto him? What if Melissa found out? Would this tear Katie apart even more? I didn't have answers, but I knew waiting would only make things worse. That night, I sat down with Katie. I didn't know how much to tell her, or if it was even my place to say anything before the police did, but I had to protect her somehow. I told her I'd seen some messages from someone she didn't know well, someone who might not have good intentions. I warned her to be careful with who she trusted, to tell me or Melissa if anything made her uncomfortable. Her eyes widened. "Dad, do you think it's Tyler?" I didn't answer. How could I? I was still piecing it together myself. But the fear in her voice was real, and suddenly the broken pieces of our family felt heavier than ever. After talking to the police, I hoped Melissa would step up for Katie's sake, if nothing else. But instead, she vanished even more from our lives. She stopped returning calls, ignored texts, didn't show up for the meetings about Katie's school or the parties. It was like she had already erased us. One afternoon, while sorting through some old emails on our shared family computer, I stumbled on a thread I wasn't supposed to see. It was between Melissa and Tyler, but not just casual trainer-client talk. There were plans, excuses, and worst of all, hints that she knew about his messages to Lena for weeks. There was a phrase that stuck with me. "I'll handle it, just keep quiet and everything stays easy." Handle it, what did that mean? I scrolled through the messages, heart pounding. She wasn't just involved with Tyler, she was protecting him. It hit me hard, like a slap across the face. She hadn't left me because she was in love with someone else. She de-abandoned me, our daughter, and everything we built so she could keep a dangerous man safe. I felt sick, betrayed beyond belief. Not just as a husband, but as a father. How could she put Katie in harm's way? I called her, voice shaking. "Why, Melissa? Why didn't you tell me?" No answer, just silence. That night I sat with Katie, the weight of the truth pressing down on me. I knew I had to protect her from Tyler, from Melissa, even from the secrets that tore us apart. And more than anything, I wanted to believe we could still find a way back, back to trust, back to safety, back to a family. But the road ahead felt longer and darker than ever. I stood in the quiet house one morning, sunlight spilling through the windows like a promise I wasn't sure I could keep. After everything, the betrayal, the lies, the fear, I realized something. This wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of a new one. Katie was asleep upstairs. I knew she was fragile, carrying wounds no kid should ever have to bear. But she was also strong, fierce in ways that amazed me every day. The police were still investigating Tyler. I stayed in constant contact with Lena's parents, the school, anyone who would listen. I wasn't just fighting for my daughter anymore. I was fighting for every kid he might have hurt. Melissa was out of the picture. She made her choices and I made mine. I couldn't change the past, but I could protect the future. I started therapy both for myself and for Katie. It was the first time I admitted I needed help, not because I was weak, but because I wanted to be better, stronger, more present. Slowly, we rebuilt our little family piece by piece. Movie nights on the couch, homework sessions, walks in the park where we talked about everything and nothing. There were hard days, of course, days when the past knocked hard and threatened to pull me under. But every time I reminded myself I was still here, still standing. And I wasn't alone. Through all the pain, I found a new kind of hope, not in Melissa or Tyler, but in the bond with my daughter. In the future we could build together. I don't know what lies ahead. I don't know if Melissa will ever come back or if Tyler will face the full consequences. But I do know this, I will fight for Katie, I will fight for us. And this time, I won't let anything break us again.